Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Cody Engel. I am a staff software engineer, and in today's video I want to talk about something that we've all experienced. You may not even know it. It's called imposter syndrome. If for some reason you haven't experienced yet, you probably will experience it at some point in your career. So I just kind of want to talk about what it is and just like a couple of things that you might be able to do to avoid feeling that way. So let's get into it. All right, and so for this, I just want to read off the definition of imposter syndrome just to kind of set the tone, set the groundwork. And so I'm getting this from a website called Fairy Godboss. I'll be sure to link it in the video description. And what is imposter syndrome? So it is a lack of self-confidence, anxiety, doubts about your thoughts, abilities, achievements, and accomplishments, negative self-talk, feelings of inadequacy, dwelling on past mistakes, and not feeling good enough. These are all signs and symptoms of imposter syndrome, and these thoughts and feelings plague all people, successful people, men and women of all ages, race, and orientations. This pervasive negativity can grow if you don't get it under control. All right, so that was imposter syndrome. That's what it is. It's just like that idea that you're not good enough. And while it happens in all industries, the software industry, I feel like, maybe it's just because I'm in it, but it seems like we get it a bit worse. And I think part of that is just the nature of the software industry. You are always going to be learning new things. While I am kind of a go-to person for Android development, if you need an Android built, or if you need an Android app built, you can come to me and be like, hey, I want this app. And I can jump in, build out the app, won't need any guidance, might have some questions here or there if I'm using like a newer technology with the framework, but in general, like self-sufficient, can do that on my own. Contrast that with, say, like machine learning. So at my company, we have a data science team. They do some tremendous work, awesome work. They work with from analytics to actually just like building out machine learning models. They can do all of that. And for me, it's like, where do I even start? Like, I know there's like AutoML for Google. That's about as far as I've gotten into that realm. I have like some ideas of like some like data sanitization and things like that. But in terms of like, how do I build a model? No idea. How do I like properly set things up for analytics? I have a vague understanding. Like, I've added analytics to apps before. But in terms of like, how can I best set that up to make it easy to query, easy to like run reports on in the future? It's kind of out of my domain. And so even though I am like a fairly successful engineer, there's still a ton. And that's just like one area in terms of like, deploying things into AWS. I could do it, I could struggle through it. But it's, again, not my area of expertise. So that is one thing to keep in mind. No matter what you do in software, you will always not know everything. There will always be people who are, way smarter than you in some regards. And part of it, though, is just realizing that you too are good at what you do. So no matter what specialization it is, like for myself, I'll just use Android. People on the data science team, they're probably not going to be able to build an app quite as easily. Like, I'm sure they could do it, but they're not going to have that level of expertise. Similarly, like people on our DevOps or SRE team, they're not going to understand fully like how you deploy an app. They'll have a good understanding maybe, but in terms of like the likelihood that they've deployed an app themselves, probably unlikely. But on the other hand, like if I need to deploy anything into the cloud, they would be the people that I would go to, because I absolutely don't know the best practices for that. And so with imposter syndrome, you'll start to kind of get those feelings of anxiety. You'll see other people doing more things than you do, or maybe you're jumping into a new project and someone's working quicker than you are. When you start feeling that, first take that step back to reflect on what you have done. It can be important just to journal, just to keep a note of all of the successes that you have had so far, just so when you do start having that self-doubt, you can kind of look back and go, oh, you know what, maybe maybe I'm not as bad as I think I am. So that can be one way of helping yourself with imposter syndrome. Another one is kind of just like going to your manager, speaking with your manager, being very open, like, hey, I don't feel like I'm doing very good at this. What do you think? And then they can tell you, like, if it is a priority and you need to be doing better at it, they will let you know. And, if they let you know, hey, you should be doing better at that, do better at it. Make that a priority to understand, get better at, find the people that you respect to learn from, all of that. But on the flip side, if they're saying, nah, that's not really a big deal, then cut yourself some slack. You're trying to go a little bit above and beyond and learn new skills, which is great. But you have to remember, like, to become an expert at something, you have to work on it, 1,000, 10,000 hours, something like that. So if you're just starting out, you're not going to be an expert. So kind of going with like those expectations of knowing that, and just realizing, you're doing more than you did yesterday. Inherently, you're going to be confused by things, or you're not going to do it as well as the things you normally do. And that's fine. It's okay. Another thing though, if you are feeling more anxiety or you're having trouble controlling it, what I have found very helpful, and actually goes back to when I was in college taking some psychology courses and all of that, is seeing a counselor, seeing a therapist. Like, you don't have to have a true like diagnosis of like depression or anxiety or bipolar, whatever. You can go and see a therapist without any sort of like mental health diagnosis, and just go, hey, I'm struggling with work, I'm struggling with life, can you help me out? And then they will talk with you. They will figure out kind of where things are coming from, and be able to work with you to build a plan for that. So my own personal experience that has worked out well is my current counselor. She has helped me kind of identify where my anxiety comes from, and oftentimes it's because of the way that I communicate. I'm not always communicating as effectively as I could. I'm assuming other people know things that they don't know. And so, and another one is just like, I wasn't as assertive as I could have been. Like, I was kind of afraid of conflict and all of that. And so she helped me come up with a plan of just figuring out like, hey, it is fine to have conflict. It's like there's a healthy version of conflict and an unhealthy version. And if you're having healthy conflict, usually that results in, healthy relationships. Another one was kind of coming from assertiveness. And so with me not being as assertive like that, I would kind of tiptoe around issues and be like, it'd be great if this happened, but not the end of the world. And so, was able to help me out with that. So not necessarily full on like getting at the root of imposter syndrome in therapy, but a lot of that helped me resolve some of the anxiety. Some of it was causing some of those feelings of imposter syndrome, where it's just like, wow, I just went into this meeting, I thought I had everything planned out, like thought I was the smartest person in the room, and no one took to my ideas. And a lot of that came from just my communication style of not being assertive. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully this helps you out, kind of understand imposter syndrome a little bit. It's not something that I think you're going to master overnight. I still suffer from it now and again. I will say I feel it less often. More recently, like with my being promoted to a staff engineer, now I'm in a room with people that have much more experience than I have had, have worked on all sorts of things that I have never worked on before. And so I've definitely been feeling it a bit more the past couple of months, but I feel like I've been able to kind of deal with it a bit better, kind of hone in and just kind of remind myself like, it's fine. I'm here because of like my talents and all of that. And yeah, so anyway, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by giving it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please be sure to subscribe. And if you want to get notifications whenever I upload a new video like this one, hit the notification bell, you'll be updated. And otherwise, yeah, just let me know what you thought. If you have any like other questions, just if I didn't cover anything, which I'm sure I didn't cover everything, just leave a comment, ask some questions, more than happy to get back to you. And if you didn't enjoy the video, if there was something you didn't like, but for whatever reason you're still watching it at this point, which is great, let me know in the comments below what I can do to improve. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.